Well, a disappointing end to the road trip, to say the least, as the Rockies were actually competitive for a majority of this game today on Sunday against the New York Yankees, but a lot of home runs allowed and not enough production from the lineup as Colorado loses on this Sunday afternoon by a final score of 10-3. They'll come home and get ready for a series with the Miami Marlins, so an opportunity to bounce back. But disappointing road trip in general, disappointing series against the Nationals, and then another not-so-good series against the New York Yankees. We'll break it all down on today's episode of your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. Let's get into it and talk some Rockies baseball.
You are Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Sunday afternoon, August the 25th, right around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Denver Broncos playing their final preseason game right now as well. And for any Broncos fans out there that are maybe tuning into the POSTCAST live, I will also be hosting the Locked On Broncos POSTCAST in probably just about a couple hours or so. So make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you never miss an episode of any of the content that is coming out here between Mile High Sports and Locked On Sports. And plenty to talk about today on the show. Some of it not, most of it not so good, as the Rockies are going to lose this game, and you guys can all, or they lose it in pretty convincing fashion to the Yankees today. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And today's episode of your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST is brought to you by our friends over at SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. And I'll save kind of my closing thoughts on the road trip for the end of the show. We'll dive into Austin Gomber's start in the second segment as well, because I just think the story of the game here is the bullpen. And, the Rockies scored 3 runs today, which is not as much as you'd like on a game in and game out basis, but it's better than the one run that we've seen them kind of score. But I think it also just kind of speaks volumes to the lagging with this lineup, right? I mean, this has been a very consistent theme for them in recent memory where, it's kind of a boom or bust type of dynamic where, I think it was on yesterday's game. Here, hold on. Let me pull it up. I mean, and honestly, it's probably even fair for us just to look at it from a little bit of a recent sample size perspective, just to kind of show how rocky, for lack of a better phrase, the lineup has been. Yeah. So, they lose today 10-3, but yesterday they're able to pile on 9 runs. And then from there, they lose to the Yankees 3-0 on Friday, 8-3 to the Nationals to end that series, 6-1 the game before that. And they won 3-1 in the series opener. So, the Rockies have only scored 5+ runs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in 2 of their last 10 games played. So the lineup has just been absolutely brutal, throughout the second half of the season, really post All-Star break. And it's one of those situations where it's probably not going to get better. You kind of have to just roll with it. And look, unfortunately, the bad outweighs the good. And the lineup, for every 9-run performance like they put up yesterday, you're probably going to have 4 or 5 of these, lackluster type of outings from the lineup today. So I thought that was disappointing. But the big story of the game today is the bullpen, in my opinion. Just looking at the box score, the way that the Rockies kind of sequenced this game out, Austin Gomber got rocked there a little bit earlier in the game. Like I said, we'll dive into that in a minute. But the Rockies, did find themselves down only 1 run before that disastrous bottom half of the 7th inning, which just absolutely blew this game out of proportion and, just made it so that the Rockies weren't going to have an opportunity to come back and be competitive in this game. Because like I said, you're down 4-3 at one point, and, you got shelled early for 4 runs there in the first 2 innings from the Yankees. But you were able to kind of claw yourself back in, a run in the first, a run in the fourth, a run in the fifth. And, just to see it all kind of go to waste there with a 3-run productive inning for the New York Yankees. And it was Jeff Criswell who's unfortunately going to be the guy to blame in the bottom half of the seventh inning. So he did get Gleyber Torres to ground out to lead the inning. And what did I say on the show yesterday? That the Yankees lineup is not as deep as maybe people think it is, right? They've got two real guys that you have to keep an eye on and two guys that you're always concerned about, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. And the third guy that's a little bit of a wild card in that lineup is Giancarlo Stanton. And today, the stars clearly align in the bottom of the seventh inning for all three of those guys, because after the Gleyber Torres ground out for the first out of the inning, they go back to back to back, 3 consecutive home runs for the Yankees. Again, brutal outing today for Rockies relief pitcher Jeff Criswell. But it started with Juan Soto, who was hitting second today in the Yankees lineup. He blasted his 37th home run. This went to right center field. That made it a 5-3 ball game. And at that point, right, 5-3, okay, like you're obviously going to be a little bit shook because now you got to face Aaron Judge. You got Stanton. And it was just, we always talk about here on the postcast how if you're going to give up home runs, you want them to be solo shots, right? Like you don't want there to be runners on base. You don't want to give up the multi-run home runs, the 2 runs, the 3 runs. Grand slams are obviously a little bit rare, but you're able to get by or at least keep yourself in the game when it's solo shots. And, that's the thing is you go down 5-3 after the Juan Soto home run, which is an absolute rocket, by the way. At bat as well. Criswell just left one right over the upper middle portion of the plate that Juan Soto just absolutely pounced on and tattooed. And, so there you are, down 2 runs now. And what does he do? He follows it up with Aaron Judge, who gets another pitch on the first pitch of his at bat, essentially a fastball down the middle, and hits it to essentially almost the same spot that Juan Soto hit his. That was his 51st home run of the season. He had hit his 50th earlier in the game as well, which we'll get to in a minute. And then it's like, okay, back-to-back home runs. We go from the score being 4-3 to now it's 6-3 in the blink of an eye. And Giancarlo Stanton just puts the cherry on top, blasting his 23rd home run of the season. And this one was a straight dead-away shot to center field. And so, you go from going into this inning as the game has progressed, right? Okay, you got down 4-0 early in the ball game. You claw your way back. You're down 1 run. You go from that to this essentially being a complete and utter blowout. And I know that's disheartening. And look, Austin Gomber was not phenomenal today on the mound. And the Rockies lineup did enough to kind of bounce back and keep him in the game. But the bullpen, it feels like it's been a little while, which is actually a good thing. But it does feel like it's been a little while, at least in my opinion, since we have had like a disaster class from the bullpen. And today, unfortunately, that was the case as Jeff Criswell is the one to blame. His final stat line tonight, just awful. 1 inning pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs. Of course, all of them earned 1 strikeout, and gives up 3 home runs. Granted, the 3 home runs that he did give up are to 3 of the best power hitters in the game. Juan Soto maybe not as much of a power hitter as much as he is an all-around versatile type of player. But obviously, we know Aaron Judge is likely winning American League MVP, one of the best players, one of the most prolific hitters in Major League Baseball right now. And look, I know Giancarlo Stanton isn't what he used to be, but that's a guy that's still, when he squares up with a baseball, it is going to go a long, long way. Also, and let me pull up his name here real quick. Let me see if I could find it. There was a bit of a scary situation in the middle of the game with the home plate umpire. Nick Marley is his name. So I believe this was in the 5th inning of the ball game. Bottom of the 5th inning, 1-1 count with Giancarlo Stanton up to bat, runners on first and second. And he kind of gets jammed on an inside pitch from, I guess that's Austin Gomber on the mound here. Or, it was like a hook and curveball that kind of just sank into the bottom inside portion of the plate. And a really scary situation as Giancarlo Stanton's bat snaps. And what actually ends up happening is right a little bit above, like I would say 3/4 of the bat, if not a little bit more, ended up wrapping around behind Stanton and ended up hitting Nick Marley, the home plate umpire, in the neck. And he ended up getting carted out from this game, unable to continue, and just a scary situation. So all of our thoughts and prayers and good wishes and all that stuff go out to home plate umpire, that's a tongue twister, Nick Marley, as he got rocked there with the broken bat of Giancarlo Stanton in the bottom of the fifth inning. It's just a scary sight. And, you even see it. Go look it up on Twitter, online. Just type in umpire or type in Yankees, Rockies umpire. It'll be one of the first things that comes up. And as soon as that ball was hit and put into play, even Drew Romo, the Rockies' young catcher, turned around right away because he knew that something was wrong. And, just a scary situation in this game here today. So, good well wishes. Looks like he's going to be okay, but that's definitely something you don't see too often, and it's a reminder that these umpires are they're putting themselves in harm's way each and every game. Line drives coming off the bat, whatever it might be. So we just hope that Nick Marley is going to be okay. But all right, let's hit our first break. When we come back, we will continue along with the conversation. Would like to dive into Austin Gomber's start from today. Didn't get out to the best start, but didn't let it completely ruin his day. Like, did he have a great start today? No. Was he good? No. Serviceable, sure, but not as bad as we've seen from Austin Gomber when things don't go well in that first inning. So we'll hit a break, come back, do just that, talking some Gomber. Also want to talk about how the Yankees scored some more of their runs, and I'll also let you know how the Rockies were able to get on the board today. So all that and more when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Stick with us, folks. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Supply House, because you're going to want to get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. I cannot state that enough, guys. In the era of artificial intelligence and computers and AI chatbots, none of that you're going to have to deal with our friends over at Supply House, because you're going to be able to talk to a real person every single time. I absolutely love that. Plus, pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Be sure to check them out, guys. Supplyhouse.com for all of your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical product needs. Check them out at www.supplyhouse.com. Be sure to take advantage of that free Trade Master program as well. Let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you, and good luck on all of your projects at home this season. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Sunday. Can't believe it's already the end of the weekend. It's crazy. But we've got football on the mind. The Broncos currently, let's see, last I checked, I'm obviously locked in doing the show, but I do have the game on in the background. Yes, they are up 7-0 right now. Looks like the second quarter is just underway. So the final preseason game of the year for the Broncos. Looks like the regular season is about to be here, folks. And, of course, the Buffs, Colorado, Coach Prime and company, they're starting up this week as well. So make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel, so that way you never miss an episode of your Locked On postcast powered by Mile High Sports. And you can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, guys, for any of you Bronco fans out there that are listening, I'll be live once again in just about a couple of hours breaking down the game today. A lot of guys fighting for some roster spots for the Broncos. Zach Wilson in at quarterback right now. We'll see if they carry 3. What is the running back room going to look like? What is the wide receiver room going to look like? We'll be able to break all of that down for you on today's episode of your Locked On Broncos postcast, which will be live shortly after here on the Rockies show as well. So, but let's continue along with the conversation with the Rocks. Of course, they lose today 10-3. Colorado falls to 48-83, 5th place in the National League West, and the Yankees improve to 77-54, who are in first place in the American League East, albeit by a slim margin, with the Baltimore Orioles not too far behind them. But that 7th inning was absolutely, that's the crux, that's the critical moment for this game. Like I said, Austin Gomber didn't get out to a good start, but the Rockies were able to kind of claw their way back into it. But once that 7th inning rolled around, it was essentially that's all she wrote, guys. That's where we're at with this one. And to add insult to injury, in the bottom half of the 8th inning there, this game's already out of reach. Remember, the score was 7-3 at this point. The Yankees had runners on the corner with 1 out, and Gleyber Torres, who's not, the biggest power hitter in the world, gets a pitch up and in and sneaks it over the fence right next to the foul pole down the line there in left field for a 3-run home run. And that's all she wrote. That's how we get to our 10-3 final score today. A lot of home runs hit for the Yankees. Like we had mentioned, Aaron Judge hit his 50th home run of the game this early in the bottom half of the 1st inning. So for Aaron Judge, home run 50 and 51, it's August 25th. So still plenty of time for him to run that up as well, and so on and so forth. The Yankees then were able to manufacture a couple of more runs in the bottom of the 2nd inning. And, unfortunately, like we said, that 7th inning just causes no chance for the Rockies to be able to come back in this one. But Brenton Doyle was able to get a run home in the top half of the 1st inning for the Rockies. And then there again in the top half of the 4th inning, Drew Romo records his first career RBI at the big league level. And Ryan McMahon with an RBI double there in the top of the 5th inning. That's how the 3 runs are generated for Los Rockies today. But let's dive into Austin Gomber's start. We had mentioned that Aaron Judge had hit home run number 50 off of him to start the game, which is a shame here too, because the Rockies, albeit it wasn't a big lead, they did get out to an early lead, 1-0 in the top half of the 1st inning. And, Austin Gomber, as we've talked about time and time again on these postcasts, is somebody that thrives when he gets off to a good start. When Austin Gomber is able to get out there and shut down the opposing team's lineup 1-2-3 in that 1st inning, all it does is build confidence for him moving forward. And he was unable to do that. And it's frustrating, especially because the Rockies did give him some run support, like I had mentioned, with that lone run there in the 1st inning. But, looking at how it all played out for Austin Gomber, bottom half of the 1st inning, it just starts off in disaster. He walks Gleyber Torres to start the game, or to start the bottom half of the frame, excuse me. Then, luckily, he gets Juan Soto to fly out to center field. And then, Aaron Judge takes him for a ride for his 50th home run of the season. And so, just like that, the Rockies go from leading the game to losing the game essentially in the blink of an eye. And that's why, it's one of the oldest sayings in baseball, right? The leadoff walk will always come back to haunt you. And I was talking about it in the 1st segment as well, where you want to, if you're going to give up the home runs, you want them to be solo shots. The fact that Gleyber Torres drew a leadoff walk and then Juan Soto flew out and then, Judge still has a runner on, just a brutal break for Austin Gomber there, and just, self-inflicted wounds. The walks are frustrating, but it's a part of the game. And, it's been something that's plagued the Rockies throughout the course of the season. And that's, playing right into the hands of the New York Yankees and their lineup and exactly how they want to play the game. So, outside of that, and that's all she wrote there in the 1st inning. But Gomber once again found himself in some trouble in the bottom half of the 2nd, although he did get the first 2 outs, Anthony Volpe and Jose Trevino. Both of them recording outs to begin the inning, but then Alex Verdugo hits a single, old pal DJ LeMahieu hits a single, and then it's 3 singles in a row, and once again, Gleyber Torres hitting that 3rd single. That brings around Alex Verdugo to score. The Yankees then advance to a 3-0 lead, make that a 4th single as Juan Soto followed that up with a single of his own that brought around LeMahieu to score. So we go from a 1-0 lead for the Rockies down 4-1 after 2 full innings played. And, outside of that, Austin Gomber, for the most part, did settle into a pretty decent groove. Gave up a couple of runs there, throughout the course of his start. But he is able to get them 6 innings. So he goes 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 runs. All of them are in 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. His ERA sitting at 4.70. So not the best outing in the world from Austin Gomber. You'd like to see a little bit more. You'd like to see the walks, 3 of them today. You want to trim that number down. And unfortunately, like we had mentioned, the Yankees, specifically Aaron Judge, made him pay for that initial walk to lead off his bottom half of the 1st inning on the mound there. And, away we go. So the silver lining, I would say today for Austin Gomber's start, though, is the fact that he didn't completely implode. Like, yes, he gave up 4 runs over 2 innings, which is not great, but I feel like we've seen Austin Gomber, where it's like 2 runs in the 1st, 3 runs in the 2nd, another run in the 3rd and the 4th, right? And it just kind of compounds. So I think the fact that Gomber was able to all right, acknowledge. And it is Aaron Judge, right? Like, it wasn't, I forget what game it was. Was it against the Reds? There was a game sometime in July where it was death by paper cuts, and he single here, single there, boom, RBI, RBI, RBI. And it was just like little ticky-tack base hits that he was giving up today. Not exactly the case, or as he was giving up in the game back then, not exactly the case today, as Aaron Judge just tattooed a ball for his 50th home run of the season. And again, that self-inflicted wound by allowing the leadoff walk. So he dug his own grave a little bit there, but I like the fact that he was able to limit the damage to those 2 innings and then really turned in 4 really nice, clean, solid innings for the Rockies, which we know they could use with, how much they're having to use the bullpen throughout the course of the season, specifically in the second half here. So I thought Austin Gomber, while he wasn't phenomenal today, I thought for like a bad start for Austin Gomber, and for any of you that are listening on the audio, I use the air quotes there, for a non-quality start, that's about as good as it gets. And hopefully a sign of growth in regards to kind of being able to snip it in the rear end and not let things kind of boil over and compile, when you're unable to kind of get out to that strong start. So we'll see how he'll perform in his next start, but not good enough today was Gomber. But the bullpen, in my opinion, is a much larger reason to blame for why the Rockies lost this game today, 10-3. All right, folks, let's hit our final break. When we come back, we'll go ahead and put a bow on the show. Couple of closing thoughts about the road trip in general, and we'll also take a look at what is coming up for the Rockies next series as they try to, August is winding down. So let's see if they can try to end the month on a high note as they'll come back to Coors Field with an opportunity to do so. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back and do just that right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. Stick with us, folks. All right, you guys, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because you've heard us talk about FanDuel a lot, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. And guys, as I mentioned, I've got the Broncos preseason game on in front of me. Football season is here. And yes, there's still plenty of baseball to bet, but football is personally my favorite sport to bet, and FanDuel just happens to be my personal favorite sports book as well. And look, Zach Wilson tutty. That was almost a touchdown. Maybe if I would have bet Zach Wilson anytime touchdown for today, I would be feeling pretty good about myself. So that would have been pretty nice. But that's what I'm talking about, is I'm just excited to bet football. I'm excited to build my parlays, and you're going to absolutely positively need YouTube TV, and our friends over at FanDuel are going to be able to help you do just that. Once again, folks, you're going to be able to get through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. It's a hot commodity, guys. You're going to want to get involved with our friends over at FanDuel. Touchdown Broncos. So anyone that bet the Broncos today, hope you looks like there's a flag down. But end of the day, NFL Sunday Ticket, you're going to get it for when you bet $5 for a few weeks as well from our friends over at FanDuel. Make sure to check them out and let them know that Locked On Rockies sent you. You can visit them at FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook today. And good luck on your wagers this season, folks. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing well out there on this Sunday afternoon. I love Sundays, man, especially now that football's about to be back. It's just kind of like that chill reset day, and day baseball, day sports. And unfortunately for us here today on the postcast, it is an L show as the Broncos. That was a touchdown for them, so they're now 14-0 in the middle of the second quarter here. But football Sunday's coming back up. I just love the weekends. And Saturdays I feel like are the day to get out there and get active. Sundays I always love chilling, cleaning up the apartment, watching the baseball, talking some sports and all that good stuff. And like I said, unfortunately, it's not a good show today for the Rockies, but the show must go on. So that's what we're going to do here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. But I had mentioned it, I think it was in the first segment, that this Rockies team on this road trip, just really disappointing from the lineup. They win that first game against the Washington Nationals and then proceed to lose 2. They lose, the first game of the series against the Yankees. They win yesterday and they lose today. So, 2 wins over 6 games for the Rockies on that road trip. Not great. And look, man, the Washington Nationals are not very good. That was a series. That's the crazy part is the Rockies had a real chance to win both of these series. And had they been able to do that, again, it's a little bit of moral victory territory at this point in the year for Colorado, but that's what you're rooting for. That's what you got to hope for if you're a Rocky fan. And we talked about it on yesterday's show that Michael Toglia even came out and acknowledged that, they're going through a little bit of a youth revolution, a little bit of a youth movement, playing more of the young guys, benching some of the older guys, looking at it today, Blackman, McMahon all played. Jake Cave was back in there, but, Rogers playing every day, Toglia playing every day, Nolan Jones playing every day, Drew Romo's playing on a consistent basis. Obviously, you've got Tovar and Doyle in there as well. And so they're going to try to lean into the mixed bag a little bit that they have in the bullpen and the rotation too, and try to figure out what they have on this roster and even, at the upper echelon of their farm system as they get ready to move into this offseason. But I just thought this was a super disappointing road trip. And, they could have easily gone 4-2 on this road trip. They could have easily won 2 games in Washington. They could have easily won 2 games in New York, whether it would have been Friday or today. And you could have come back home to take on the Miami Marlins feeling a lot better about yourself. But that is not the case. And I just think that this is going to be what it is the rest of the year, where erratic offense, you're going to get 1 game out of every 5 probably where, they step up to the plate and they're able to, do what they need to do and put their best foot forward. But, more often than not, unfortunately, they're just lacking depth. They're lacking versatility in that lineup. They're lacking consistency in a positive sense. And so, nothing earth shattering on that front, but it is got to be frustrating where, you're getting some decent starts from your starting pitcher. Your bullpen's doing their job at times. Obviously that was not the case today, but the lineup is the one problem with this Rockies team that I think has been a consistent thing throughout the course of the season, because the rotation has had their moments. Like there's been some moments where, Ty Block for a minute there was turning in some good starts. Tyler Kinley, who we're about to talk about, and Tyler Kinley at one point was all right. Ryan Feltner's coming back tomorrow for the Rockies as well. And it stinks that German Marquez is out, and it stinks that Antonio Sensatello's not coming back, but this is just kind of where we're at. And just a depressing, empty, blah road trip. I don't really know how else to describe it. Just a mid-August, brutal, hot summer, sticky road trip where the Rockies didn't do much positive stuff. That's about all she wrote. So we'll see how it plays out. But looking ahead to tomorrow, the Rockies will be back at home at Coors Field, 6:40 p.m. first pitch against the Miami Marlins. It'll be Edward Cabrera, the 26-year-old on the mound for Miami. And looking at it last time out for Cabrera, he made a start on the 20th of August against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had 6 innings pitched in that one, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, gave up 2 home runs in that one, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So that is the last time out for Edward Cabrera. And I believe I heard correctly on the post-game broadcast there with Buddy Black that Ryan Feltner will be back in the saddle for the Rockies tomorrow. He last pitched on the 7th of August against the New York Mets. He only pitched 1 inning and was yanked there prematurely. 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 strikeout, and he's been out ever since. So it'll be Cabrera likely versus Ryan Feltner tomorrow. And, we talked about it. Cabrera gave up a couple of home runs in his last start, maybe come back home at Coors Field. Can the Rockies try to figure out a way to manufacture some runs via the long ball, maybe a little small ball as well, and just try to get back on track as we've got ourselves what we like to call a toilet bowl series tomorrow. The 2 worst teams in the National League battling for the right to not be the worst team. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. But at the end of the day, we're in the dog days. We're going to get through it. They're going to get through it. And hopefully they can just win. Just give us something positive to talk about, because, again, I just thought this was such a disappointing road trip. Winnable games across the board, 2 winnable series, and the Rockies come up just short. But all right, that is going to do it for me today, folks. Appreciate you guys rocking with me on today's episode of your Locked On Rockies postcast. Make sure to subscribe to the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of your postcast. We've got the Broncos show coming up here in about an hour or so after this preseason game between Denver and Arizona. So make sure to subscribe, and you can also follow me on social media at Media by AP. All right, that is it for me for the Rockies show. Talk to you in a little bit on the Broncos show, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon, folks. Have a good one.